Do I need a partner? This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the November the 3rd, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. All right. We are here. It is Friday, and I did some work on my audio. I don't know if it got better, but I thank you for everybody that clicked on. And some people made suggestions and everything. It is nice. I'm going to do my best to make sure audio stuff is better going forward, and we'll figure it out. I just don't like that snap, crackle, pop. Question came is, hey, Joe, have you thought about getting a partner? And I'll deal with that later. And the other one that I do get asked is often about the Rams draft. And I got to tell you, going into week 9 of the 2023 season, I'm not really into what's going to happen in late April of 2024. I think we'll have a better picture of that, obviously, after January. But there's one thing I'm not dancing with, and it's a narrative that's out there that I do want to speak about because I'm hearing it in different quarters and in different places. I'm really tired of hearing, to some extent, it's a paraphrase of everyone's statement, Stafford hasn't looked good the last 4 weeks, right? I think he's hit a wall, as if Stafford hasn't played 3 of the last 4 games against Philly, Pittsburgh, and Dallas with some of the strongest defenses and the strongest pass rush in the NFL, right? Playing with a young team, dealing with Higbee drops, even Cooper Kupp drops, an average offensive line that has been banged up, and all of a sudden we're turning it on Stafford. Just appreciate what you got in Stafford, all right? Just appreciate what you got in him. But anybody that's going to line up against Pittsburgh, Dallas, and Philly, and two of those games, the Rams could have easily have won those games, and the narrative would be completely different. But not to let Stafford off the hook. The interception he threw to Watt was terrible. The pick 6 he threw against Dallas, all those things, they're on him, right? And speaking of Stafford, I would prefer, he's listed as questionable, I would prefer that he didn't play on Sunday. I think, Dwayne Barker's got a question. We'll save that question, and I'll cut the watermelon open when we get to the break. I know your question, Mr. Barker. I would prefer Stafford didn't play on Sunday. If there's any doubt about his thumb, right? If the team had held on against Pittsburgh or against Cincy and they were 5-3 right now, I'd still think about benching Stafford this week. And they had opportunities against Frisco and Philly, but they didn't win any of those games. So this team is 3-5, and I want to be darn sure, or I'm going to keep him on a really short leash at 3-5 going in Green Bay because of that thumb in the cold. I think a loss to Green Bay would be discouraging because I don't think anyone expected Green Bay to be this bad. But it's recoverable. And again, a young team can be resilient. You got a good coaching staff. This team can be resilient. And I think they could possibly eke out a win over this Green Bay team, even with Brett Rippon. But keep a short leash on him. I don't want him getting hurt or that thumb getting worse, getting ready for the back half of the season. It would be nice to give Stafford what looks like 3 weeks of rest. He's a guy that has a lot of mileage. He's in his mid-30s. It doesn't hurt to give him some rest this week. And we'll talk more about the game going forward because ultimately it's not our decision whether Stafford plays or not. Around the NFL and other places, I thought I saw a hat that said make Titans football interesting again. When Will Levis, right? Will Levis. I was going to watch the Thursday night game no matter what, because any games I could watch, I watch. And I watch until the end because I want to be able to kind of know what I'm talking about. But if there is a team that has consistently bored me the last few years, it's been the Tennessee Titans. It really is. When I see the Titans are playing, I'm just like, oh, gosh, I don't want to watch this. I really don't. But seeing the highlights of Levis last week and seeing him play last night, he looks good for a rookie playing his second game against a Steeler defense, and he looks like he has the potential to be very, very special. I enjoyed every minute of it. I just loved some of those throws he made were just incredible. Of course, he made a couple of mistakes, and I'm not faulting him for the interception at the end of the game. He actually got them in position to where a pass could go to the end zone to win that game last night. Ryan Tannehill is a free agent in 2024, and I think Ryan Tannehill looks like a fantastic backup for the Rams. I'd live with that. Pay him a rock or two, let him be the backup quarterback. But Mike Vrabel, Titans head coach, says he's not ready to name Will Levis the starting quarterback and that they're going to have a conversation this week. I think Mike Vrabel's done a great job in Tennessee. I might not be interested in his team, but they play well, they're consistent, and I think he's a really good coach. But if I was ownership and he's having an issue about the remainder of this season, about maybe going back to Tannehill, it's the AFC South. That window is wide open in the AFC South. And you got a quarterback who could go downfield with confidence. You got a quarterback that can move with confidence. You got a quarterback who doesn't know what he doesn't know. He gives them the best chance to win. He gives them the best chance to win. And if I'm the ownership and Mike Vrabel says, hey, I'm still going to go with Mike Tannehill or Ryan Tannehill, you know what? I'd say, Mike, you got a choice, right? You start Levis or you go looking for another job, because that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We've seen the Ryan Tannehill show. It is as played out as anything else you'd want to see. It would be like Jessica Simpson going on concert tour again. It's like, who wants to see this? Everyone's seen it. No one cares, right? Ryan Tannehill's run is done. Just go with Levis, man. You're not going anywhere anyway. With Levis, you might have a shot. Yeah, I like Vrabel, but to even utter a comment like, well, we're not ready to name Levis the starting quarterback yet, ask Derrick Henry how he feels about it. Why don't you ask DeAndre Hopkins how he feels about it and see what the team says? Because, I don't think you owe anything to Ryan Tannehill. You've made him a very, very rich man. Regarding Pittsburgh, Kenny Pickett, I had this talk with Steeler fan Rob in Missouri. I had this talk with him this morning. I like Kenny Pickett, but he seems like a high-end backup bridge quarterback to me. Maybe it was the ribs, but he missed a lot of easy throws last night. And if he hit a couple of those throws, Quan Alexander wouldn't have need to pick off a Will Levis pass in the end zone in the final seconds to steal the win. I don't know. Something about Pickett. He's good. He's not bad. But when you think about Pittsburgh, they have so much talent right now. But there's this one issue. And I'll let Steeler fan Rob in Missouri correct me, but Hayward came back. He's getting older. Watt, Fitzpatrick, and Highsmith are in their prime, and you're paying them like they're in their prime. Freiermuth, Harris, Deontay Johnson all have one more year before they have to start getting paid, right? Actually, I think Freiermuth has two. But Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, they have one more year before they have to start getting paid. And the Steelers spend a lot of money on defense. So you're going to stay in this boat, right? My question would be for Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin, will Kenny Pickett be ready to lead you to a Super Bowl in 2024? Do you want to waste the prime years of Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith? Do you want to waste the last couple of turns of the clock that you're getting out of Hayward? Do you want to risk a Deontay Johnson or a Najee Harris moving off after another year? Because if somehow you commit to Kenny Pickett, I'm Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, I don't know if I want to stay, right? And you might not have the money because you got so much money going to the defense. I don't know. I would definitely be in the market for another quarterback come this draft season if I was the Pittsburgh Steelers. If I can give some advice to the Arizona Cardinals and their head coach, Jonathan Gannon, don't start Kyler Murray. Go with Clayton Tune this week. There's some talk about Murray playing. Go with Clayton Tune. Run him against the Browns. Let the Browns beat up Clayton Tune. I say this, and I'm not even a Kyler Murray fan, but I expect the Cardinals to be kind of lifeless after this week. I think Josh Dobbs was a big factor, but I do have a couple thoughts I'll share when we get to the game night section. Raiders cut former Ram cornerback David Long Jr. I thought that was interesting. Lions signed former Rams long snapper Jake McQuaid. And the Ravens cut local guy Kevon Seymour. We saw Kevon Seymour play at Muir High School and, of course, at USC. What do I think about Washington, USC? I think if Michael Penix is healthy and keeps his jersey clean, the Trojans are toast. I do. If the Trojans can't figure out a way, if Alex Grinch can't figure out a way to get to Michael Penix, he is going to carve them up like nobody's business. On the flip side, all the bad of Notre Dame, all the bad of Arizona can be erased if USC can find a way to beat Washington, and it would have to be likely a shootout. So there we go. Commercial. My name is Joe Tarosian, and I was a sports writer for 21 years. Was one of the founding members of Mid-Valley Sports. Those guys are still covering football. They are in the room with the Chargers, Tim and Dwayne. Check them out at midvalleysports.com. That's not a commercial. That's me being polite. I worked at other places as well, and now I do RamView, thanks to Kistler Law and Temple City Auto. Check those folks out if you need some help. And I also write books to support my day job. I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene, and you can follow us right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual. If you have any questions, you could check that out. One of the things that came up is, don't you write any other books? Because I'm always holding up a copy of Tangent Dreams. Well, since this is a football cast, Ramcast podcast, that's why I hold up the football book. But someone was asking me, don't you have any other books? And I said, yeah, I got other books. They're just all on Amazon. So if you're interested, this is my other high school football book, Temple City, Company of the Ages. Short read, not too bad. Dark Norm, kind of a spooky bullying book. And then my dystopian and Christian novel, Sin Virus. Think Walking Dead meets Christianity. This one, a lot of good reviews on this one. And, of course, The Pastor Who Couldn't Wait for Christmas to Be Over. I released that last December. And my next book, Game Day in the Ram Cave, which is a fictional account, will be probably, I'm hoping to get it out by Christmas. There. Those are the other books I wrote. I would encourage you to buy all of them because the baby always needs a new pair of shoes. Okay, let's look at some of the questions here. I do have a question from listener XG1335, and I'll get to it in a second. Dwayne Burker's got a question. I know what that is. He's going to say when you get to cut the watermelon open. All right. Tim Burns, with what comparison intact do we keep Donald while we struggle the next two seasons and play losing football, or get value while we can? That's an interesting Kistler Law, protecting me since 93. Go Tim Burns, advance the sponsor. In regards to Aaron Donald, I kind of implied it on Monday that if the Rams thought they could get great draft picks at the trade deadline for Donald or Cup, yeah, I think I might have thought about pulling the trigger. I really do. I would have thought about pulling the trigger because he is in his prime still, maybe on the backside of his prime, but you get something and you rebuild and he gets to play with a contender. Of course, that's the emotional aspect of it. But hey, if you grew up a Rams fan, you saw Harold Jackson traded. You saw Lawrence McCutcheon traded. You saw James Harris traded. You saw Eric Dickerson traded, right? You saw Kurt Warner traded after winning a Super Bowl. You've seen those things as a Rams fan. And so, yeah, pain is part of it. Pain is part of it. And while I don't want it to happen, I would be open if there were some massive draft picks on the table to moving an Aaron Donald while you could still get it for him. If not, you let his contract play out. Again, I know it sounds crazy when you get into the 30 million range. It seems crazy, but the salary cap thing keeps going up, and it becomes less and less of a percentage out of the pie, and you live with it and everything. But Yeah, I'm telling you right now, Mr. Burns. Yeah, I try to remove myself from emotion, except when we're playing Dallas, right? Okay. Any other questions there? Okay, yeah, here's the question from listener XG1335. Okay, this is the one that I opened the show with. Have you thought about getting a partner to talk with you? It would probably help your show get more clicks. I'm critical, but I like you. Oh, cool. Thank you for liking me. I do appreciate that. Someone kind of likes me a little bit out there. A few of you do. But do I want to get a partner? Uh, if my whole income could be made just doing this, and my partner's income could be made just doing this, maybe I'd think about it. But I do this 3 days a week. I would probably do it 5 days a week if I could, but I can't because I write books and I pastor a church and I preach 8 times a week. And so I don't have the time to do this full time. And I definitely wouldn't have time to do it with a partner. A partner you have to be in contact with. A partner you have to make sure they are as prepped as you. Nothing's worse than when you get on the air with somebody, you're prepped and they're not, or heaven forbid, they're prepped and you're not, and you're just giving a lot of yeah buts, or you're giving the absolutely 100%. I agree completely, right? And you hear that all the time. There's the other aspect of it too, and I know this might seem kind of trivial or something to some people. One of the reasons I like doing this where I'm talking into the mic is I feel like I'm talking to you and you and I are engaging, as opposed to me and somebody else in the room are having a conversation and you're just eavesdropping. Never doing a comparison, but just in matter of styles. When Vince Scully was calling Dodger games, he called him alone in the booth. Why? Vince Scully was talking to us. That's why it was such a personal thing. He wasn't having a conversation with somebody else. And you felt that there was an inclusion there, a little more community. And so that is why it would have to be really special circumstances for me to try to look and get a partner. I got guys I could work with, but they work too. They have other jobs too. And that's just tough. That's tough work to work in a partnership. And then I think you just lose a little bit of the spontaneity of the interaction between us, because when you guys ask questions, I know there's people out there that are going to say something to me like that's going to make me laugh, and I get to say, hey, Tim Burns, thank you so much for the great Scully analogy. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. So it's a little bit better if it's, to me, I feel like if it's us, and that's why I'm not arrogant. If somebody wants to come in and offer us $1 billion, if you have a sponsorship out there that you want to give us, I'll say yes to anything, almost anything. But yeah, that's my deal there in terms of I'm not looking for a partner. And so yeah, that's what it is. And I don't want to slam anybody because it's really hard working with a partner. You both have to be equally prepared. Okay. Thank you so much for that little indulgence there. And everything. But if you could check us out, check out our books. And the other thing too is I've been asked, I have played around with the idea of just doing a podcast only, not on broadcast, but just podcast where it's just audio of just sports talk, maybe top 10 things in sports that day. And I'm playing with it, but it's just really hard to fit that into the schedule. Okay. Rams update, injuries, Stafford's thumb, they listed him as questionable. I wouldn't be surprised if he sits. And we just get behind Rippon and we just pound the rock, right? Havenstein has not practiced all week. That makes me a little leery about him. Ernest Jones has been ruled out, and you have to wonder, you're going to get Christian Roseboom. Who comes in after that? Is it going to be Troy Reeder, Jake Hummel? Who's that going to be? Listed as limited and questionable, Laurel Murchison, Kobe Durant, Puka Nacua. The last I heard was Nacua is optimistic about playing. Usually questionable does mean they'll play. All right. Back to one of the questions that came at the top of the show that I got into Stafford. I didn't get into it, was about the draft. And the Rams draft is next spring. But who do you think the Rams will be drafting? I don't know who the Rams are going to be drafting because They've gone from 14th spot in the first round to the 9th to the 8th spot in the first round. I don't know who they're going to be drafting, but you could look at the team and you can see who they're going to spots they're going to draft, right? Safety, for instance. Jordan Fuller is a free agent, right? He's gone. Rams don't re-sign safeties, right? They re-sign you after the Browns cut you and they bring in John Johnson. I think the furthest they did with a DB was they franchise tag LaMarcus Joyner. He was kind of a hybrid safety corner, slot corner guy back in 2018. But the Rams don't re-sign him. Beginning with TJ McDonald in 2013, the Rams have drafted 11 safeties, right? They're going to be drafting more safeties in the future. They've drafted 3 in the last 2 years. So expect the Rams to draft a safety. Cornerback, the Rams, they'll be looking at a corner. Ahkello Witherspoon has been really good this year as far as what we expected. He hasn't been shut down, Lester Hayes, Mike Haynes, but he's been really good. But he's also had a couple years there where he was injured. And so we're getting productivity out of him that I don't think anyone expected, which I think hindered him getting signed by another team. Can you expect that in the years to come or another year? I don't think you can. Plus, Kobe Durant and Darian Kendrick will be going into their 3rd season with the Rams. The Rams have taken 8 to 9 cornerbacks in this Snead era. They draft cornerbacks. They also sign them and they trade for them. And think about this in terms of how the Rams view corners, right? By midseason of 2019, the Rams had moved off of Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib, half season after going to the Super Bowl with those guys on the corner. Corner is a very fluid spot for the Rams. Darius Williams is playing really well right now in Jacksonville, and you're happy for him. But we all knew the Rams weren't going to re-sign him, and he was a free agent pickup. And so that's just what the Rams do. So, I would expect them to be looking at a corner, and I would expect them to go high for a corner. THT hasn't really seen the field yet. I would say definitely a corner is still in there. Linebacker, yes. Ernest Jones will be going into his 4th season. The team's not going to invest a lot in an off-ball linebacker, but they're going to look to replace Ernest Jones because they're not going to re-sign him. I'd be really surprised if the Rams re-signed him. He'll sign someplace else. We'll get a 6th-round comp pick for him. Edge, yes, because edge drives the boat, right? The Rams will draft an edge next spring anywhere in the top 100, maybe in the top 10. The Rams will draft an edge. I think that goes without saying. Interior defensive lineman, Donald is getting older. Bobby Brown will be in his 4th year. And we don't know about Kobe Turner. Is Kobe Turner efficient? Is he good? Or is he great? We don't think he's great, but he could be good. And even though he's good, there will still be a need for something a little more special. And so I could see the Rams, if a Jalen Carter was available in the top, I could see the Rams drafting a DT early. Quarterback, depends on how Stafford finishes. If Stafford finishes strong and he's healthy, nothing to do with the neck or anything like that, I don't think the Rams are drafting a quarterback in the 1st round. I think they'll want to run it back again and get some more talent around him. On the other hand, if he falls apart, definitely. If he gets racked, if it's something to do with his neck again, that shoulder or anything goes wrong, I could see the Rams doing something else. Wide receiver, yes, of course, because that's Sean McVay. Tutu Atwell next year will be in his 4th season. Cooper Kupp will be another year older. Puka is nice, but the Rams are going to need more. Tight ends, please. Yes, of course. The Rams need a 21st century tight end. The closest they had was Gerald Everett, who was productive, but Everett didn't block. They want that blocking tight end, which I think they're hoping Davis Allen's going to be. Bryson Hopkins isn't long for this team because I can't imagine them keeping him and having 4 tight ends on the roster. Maybe they can, but I could see the Rams drafting a tight end. Running back, would you want the Rams to draft Brock Bowers, by the way? If they were high inside the top 10, would you want the Georgia tight end? That guy's pretty good. I don't know if I'd want him, but he's pretty good. Running back, yes. The Rams are always going to draft depth pieces, right? We're going to find out. We don't know about Zach Evans, right? We found out about Kyren Williams this year. We found out he can play. They're going to draft depth pieces. And then when you talk about the offensive line, guard, center, tackle, Havenstein next season will be in his 10th year. And unless something happens inspiring with Joe Noteboom, he's going to be gone. Kevin Dotson's a free agent at right guard, and Ram fans are falling in love with him, but he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Coleman Shelton's going to be back. He's only going to cost $2 rocks, so that's good. I imagine Brian Allen will be gone, but he's okay. If you want to upgrade, you might look to upgrade there. My theory has always been, if I got multiple picks inside the top 100, I'm always taking an offensive lineman, even if that offensive line includes Tom Mack, Rick Saul, Dennis Hara, Doug France, John Williams, Jackie Slater, Charlie Cowan, Ken Iman, Joe Schiavelli, Kent Hill, Orlando Pace, right? I'm always going to draft an offensive lineman. If I got multiple picks inside the top 100, I'm always going to draft it. I want to be so heavy on the offensive line because the offensive line drives the boat, Chief, right? Right. Okay. We talked about the games and everything for college football. I got Michigan number 1. They got Purdue, Washington, USC, Florida State, Pittsburgh. Oregon's playing Cal, Ohio State, Rutgers. Keep an eye on Texas, Kansas State. Ewers is out. Alabama, LSU should be interesting. Oklahoma, Oklahoma State will be interesting, as well as Ole Miss and Texas A&M. And I am interested in seeing Notre Dame again. And UCLA against Arizona, as well as Missouri, Georgia. Okay, let's look at the 26-minute mark as we get there. Let's look at week 9 again. Two teams that look a lot alike right now. A lot of issues. Their quarterback is healthy but questionable in terms of his performance. Our quarterback is really good, but he's questionable in terms of health. Their offensive line is solid. Their defense, which should be better, is not. It's not playing as great as it should. And really, this is for the Rams, this young team, this is a who we are game for the Rams. This is a who we are game. Who is this Rams team? One, they're a young team that played hard early and lost some games because they are young and they made mistakes. Okay? Expect that with a young team. This is a young team that was due for a butt kicking, and they got it in Dallas, right? They didn't even have to go to Czechoslovakia or Wisconsin. They got their butt kicked in Dallas, okay? Young team now with the opportunity to bounce back against an opponent that is reeling. We're going to find out about this team. We talk about the draft. I think this game could tell us a lot about what the Rams are going to do in the draft. This Rams defense is good enough, we said, but it really boils down to the trenches, of course, like all games do. Very cliche there. But can this offensive line move the pile? It's critical if Brett Rippon starts that the Rams are able to run the ball. On the offensive side for the Packers, their receivers have been a disappointment this season. They really have. Jordan Love's had his problems, but I think people were expecting a lot more of Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. Luke Musgrave is a rookie, and still Jordan Love's been struggling. No big throws, throwing a lot of picks lately. And so, yeah, it's going to be really interesting. They get Aaron Jones back. Aaron Jones has played only 4 games this year, only has 29 carries. But, he's been with the team since 2017, and he's been their bell cow since 2018. He has 3 1,000-yard seasons, and you wonder, could his time be coming in terms of all the hits and all the accumulation, right? There's a guy that played for the Packers I just loved, and nobody remembers him, is Amon Green. Played at Nebraska. He had some several thousand-yard seasons for the Pack. And then he just ran out of gas, right? He's a running back. And you have to wonder that about Aaron Jones. So looking at this Ram game, I think the Rams can win. I'm going to give them the win. I'm going to give them a 20-14 win. And they're going to improve to 4-5. It's going to be a win that's probably ugly, and everyone's going to be complaining afterwards. There'll probably be a missed PAT. Darian Kendrick will get a pass interference penalty. Stuff will happen. Joe Noteboom will get beat on a blitz, and Rippon will get blasted, and people are going to be upset. But the Rams are going to get a win. So it'll be a win, which is good. They'll be 4-5 in the break. I think ahead of schedule because I envision them being 3-6. But there'll be plenty to yell and complain about for the next 2 weeks. Okay, let's move to week 9 of the season. All right, let me get this real quick right here. Questions came in. Dwayne Barker. I won't say any names, but there are knowledgeable Ram fans out there who just wouldn't be good on cam. Preach. Okay. Tim Burns. The one Ram guy that devastated me when he moved on was Kevin Green. Jeff Fisher didn't have a place for Kevin Green when he was the Rams DC. And then Rob, Steeler fan in Missouri. NFL is basically a flag football league right now. You know what? I don't want to agree with you on anything. their issue is they got to start reviewing some of these penalties. But I could understand how you felt, because I thought going at the end of the first half, I thought it was refs 31, Steelers 14, Titans 10. Because I thought the refs were winning that game last night at halftime. Yeah, it was brutal. There was just a bit much there. Okay, Thursday night, we talked about that. I chose the Steelers. Steelers won 20-16, so I'm ahead of schedule there. Dolphins, Chiefs in Germany. I'm going with the Dolphins. I just feel like the sudden swiftness of the whole Chiefs season. I think they've lost a little bit of focus. The Dolphins have some players out, but they do have Tyreek Hill. I'm going with and the Dolphins got to Germany early, so I'm going to go with the Dolphins in that game. Vikings, Falcons, this game feels like a toss-up. Josh Dobbs is going to probably be starting for the Vikings, but the Falcons are without some players, and they're also without Drake London. That'll be interesting to see with the Falcons at home. I'm leaning both ways, but I'm going to go Falcons in this one. Seahawks, Ravens in Baltimore. I'm going with the Ravens, and I'm really kind of hoping the Ravens win. We want the Seahawks to have a loss, right? The Seahawks are currently 5-2. If they lose to this game, they're 5-3. Then they got to play Washington, and we don't know how that's going to turn out. But then in week 11, they get the Rams, and the Rams have an opportunity to tag another loss on them in SoFi. If the Rams can get that second win over the Seahawks and stay close to them, right? Stay close to them, then the Rams get the tiebreaker over Seattle. And so we are rooting for the Ravens in that game. Cardinals, Browns. It's got to be Browns, even though Deshaun Watson decided he is going to play. We'll see. The Browns should win this one. But if Jonathan Gannon, the Cardinals HC can figure out a way to get Arizona a victory there, I think heads are going to roll in Cleveland. And I think, again, what we talked about on Wednesday is this Browns team is not Browns team. This Cardinals team could be turning the corner in its leadership because, this team keeps playing hard. I think Dobbs was a big leader for the Cardinals. I think it will take the life out of them, but it'll be interesting to see. Buccaneers, Texans. I'm going with Houston. Taxskins, Patriots. I'm going with the Taxskins. They got a lot of guys out of the room. I think addition by subtraction. Colts, Panthers. I'm going with Colts. I'm going with the Panthers at home. Bears, Saints. Yeah, we know what that is. That's the Saints. Giants, Raiders. I have this feeling, Tyrod Taylor's out. Darren Waller's out. Graham Gano is out. I get this feeling that Antonio Pierce is going to become a beloved figure in Las Vegas for the next month or so. I think the Raiders will kind of pick up a little bit. I don't think they'll win a whole bunch of games, but I think there'll be energy and people will love Antonio Pierce. I think it's easy to love Antonio Pierce when you hear him talk and stuff. I'm not going to say I'm rooting for the Raiders because I'm very seldom rooting for the Raiders, but I can see them winning that game against the Giants by a couple of scores. Go Aiden O'Connell. Cowboys, Eagles. I'm going with the Eagles in Philly. Bills, Bengals. I'm going with the Bengals in Cincy. I kind of root for the Bills, but I've been drawn to the dark side. I'm kind of like into the Joe Burrow experience now, and the Bengals at home. Yeah, maybe if it was in Buffalo, I'd feel different, but I'm going Cincy right now. Monday night, Chargers, Jets. I will not pick the Chargers. I'm going for the Jets in this game. I'm going to let a little motion get involved here. Okay, getting close to the end here. We're going to go with this date and Rams. Well, we're not quite there yet at the end, but on this date in 1966, you're going to say, Joe, what's the big deal in 1966? The Rams had a wide receiver named Bucky Pope. Bucky Pope in 64 caught something like 28 passes for 31-yard average. He scored 10 touchdowns, and then he tore up his knee in 65 and then came back in 66, and he was activated on this day. He played for the Rams a little bit in 67, and then in 68, George Allen sent him to the Falcons. I just thought that was interesting. Also in 72, this was the day Lawrence McCutcheon, 51 years ago today, was activated from the Rams for the Rams lineup in his rookie year. All those things are there. This is the anniversary of the Steve Dills, Mike Lansford game against the Bears on Monday Night Football in '86 when Lansford kicked the winning field goal to beat the Bears 20-17 the year after they won the Super Bowl. And tomorrow, Orlando Pace, Hall of Famer, turns 48. Okay, I think we got it all in there. I think we did, and we did it in 35 minutes. Awesome sauce. Thank you guys so much for clicking on. I believe at this time it was a stone room. And please hit likes, comments, shares, and check us out on Spotify as we need help over there. Tim Burns, you have a great weekend too. And Tim Burns, I'm working, so I'm catching the Ram game on a little bit of a delay on Sunday. I'm in the pulpit, so no updates until about 6 p.m., our time. Okay. All right, guys, we're going to go. Take care, and we will see you soon.